All right, I'm here with Jayden Bloom. He went from 2 cars to over 30 cars. That's 0K to over $100,000 a month in his business. One of the top luxury car rental companies in Miami. Jayden, it's good to have you here, man.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. So, for everybody watching right now, if you could maybe just give a 30-foot overview of your story and, who was Jayden before he was driving around in Lamborghinis and, G-Wagons every day?
For sure. So I'm originally from Vancouver, Canada. Grew up there, born and raised. My parents are immigrants from South Africa. So they moved to Canada in the like 1995, 1996. I was born shortly after, and they came with nothing. My dad really had $1,000 in his pocket. But my dad's been an entrepreneur his entire life, so I kind of was around that my whole life. I saw him build multiple different companies from the ground up. I saw how much effort, how much work, how much time that took him, and the kind of life it created for him. He became pretty successful over the years. But just from being around an entrepreneur like my dad, I knew I was going to be an entrepreneur. I knew it. I hated school. I never got good grades. And I just knew it, but I never knew what I was going to do. I never knew what industry, what I was going to pursue. So I graduated college. I have an undergraduate degree in criminology, actually. Very random. I was thinking about pursuing law at the time. Graduated college, did not want to pursue law school. My grades weren't even good enough to pursue law school. So I became a personal trainer for 2 years. And I did that for the sole purpose of being able to network. So I worked at Equinox, which is a pretty high-end, luxury gym. There's about 80 locations across the US and Canada. There's one in Vancouver that I was working at. And I networked. I just networked. And from doing that, I met some guys that put me on some different things. I met this one guy who was killing it in crypto. And he kind of put me on. I started trading crypto. I learned the ropes from him and, just started doing well, managed to quit the gym, became an online coach for personal training, grew that to about 20, 25 clients, managed to, live in Mexico for 3 months while training clients, all these different things. So that was like my first taste of being an entrepreneur, and I loved it. I love being able to work from my phone. I love being able to be wherever, whenever, and I loved how there was no cap on how much money I could make. So once COVID hit, Canada kind of went down the drain. It just turned into this like insanely like dictatorship country. It almost felt like with the vaccine passports being issued, you really weren't allowed to leave your house if you weren't vaccinated. It was pretty crazy. So I said, you know what, Canada's not the country for me, and there's not many opportunities for entrepreneurs out there anyways. I visited Miami a few times during 2021, fell in love with the city, was meeting people so effortlessly. Such a fast-paced city, a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of hustlers. Everybody was just talking money, right? Everybody down here just wants to make money. And I love that. I love that mindset. I love that vibe. So I said, you know what? I'm going to move out here. I moved out here August 2022. I brought my BMW. I had an M2 on a lease. I brought that down with me. My business partner came as well. He brought his M5 competition. And we just started renting these 2 cars out. We knew that Miami was a really hot market for exotic car rentals. But we didn't know how to get private clients. We didn't know how the market worked. We didn't know how the game worked. So we started on Turo for about 5-6 months, just on Turo. And we were making just enough to pay for the cars. So we weren't really making a lot of money, but we saw the potential. We were getting a good amount of clients. We saw the potential. And just from there, we kind of figured out the private rental game. I actually hired a mentor, paid him $15K to teach me the game. I just happened to get in touch with him just randomly, and he changed the whole game for me. And that was back in last year, March, so almost a year ago. I had 3 cars at that time. We had just purchased a Maserati Gran Turismo that we were renting out to. And I remember him saying that I was going to make that 15K back within the first few months, he thought. And just from him teaching me the private rental game, I came off Turo, and within 3 weeks, I made that money back.
Wow.
And now we're sitting at about 35 cars, all exotics. The fleet alone is worth like $5-6 million, and it all happened within a year.
That is a quantum leap in life. I love it.
Yeah,
Dude,
appreciate it.
I'm excited to unpack that because I heard a lot of things that I want to talk about because your journey. First off, actually, Vancouver. My business partners from Vancouver, Dylan Vaness, and Canadians. Man, Canadians are the ones that are coming to the U.S. or they're kind of doing things online. Dude, they're taking over. They're like, I know a lot of Canadian players. I'm like, dude, I think it's something where one thing I've noticed with Canadians is their communication and just the way they hold themselves I don't know if it's more professional, but their communication is definitely better than a lot of Americans. Like for me, I have a few Canadian sales reps, and Yeah, I've noticed that. But anyways, okay. So with your story, what I heard was this: is you started off, at Equinox, and you were a personal trainer, right? So what was the skill set that you picked up from that experience, right? When you were doing that, and how long did you do it for?
Sales. I got really good at sales just from being a personal trainer because, when you're selling $1,200 packages and you're convincing somebody that they need a personal trainer, I really do think there's a high turnover rate at gyms like
Mm-hmm.
Equinox because of the fact that it's such a heavy sales job. Like you're really just selling all day, every day. And that was like the first, my first experience in terms of like me understanding and knowing that I'm actually good at sales. I hit all of my bonuses when I first went there. I had no prior personal training experience, no prior sales experience really. But my dad is a killer at sales, and I've just been around that my whole life. So I think
Mm-hmm.
naturally I just picked up on that. And then when I got a job there, I was just getting clients left, right, and center. I hit all my bonuses as a rookie trainer in my first 3 months. And I just got really good at sales, and that is a huge reason as to why I have so many cars right now too. I work with a lot of investors, and
Mm.
convincing somebody to either purchase you a $300,000 car or give you a $300,000 car, it's a lot of sales, right? You
Yeah.
got to show them that you're the guy, that you're gonna exceed their expectations, that you're gonna do all these different things, and nobody's going to give you an asset like that if you don't have conviction in your voice and your words,
Mm.
right?
Yeah, totally. And, I don't think it's, coincidence. Every single person that I know under the age of 30 that, runs, whether it's a 7-figure company, 8-figure, or we were talking about some mutual contacts we have, running 9-figure companies under the age of 30, they started with sales. So, that's where I started too, because I was actually pretty introverted, but I knew that I needed to learn sales because, dude, that's like the lifeblood of any business. So I love that. And then after that, you transition to doing basically the digital nomad, the dream kind of setup that everybody I think sees online, right? Where you were living in Mexico for a few months. With that experience, were you already on social media, or did you make the decision, hey, I'm going to build a social media following and start posting and then get clients? How did that come about? And let's talk about that.
For sure. So I didn't really have much of a social media presence, but I've always had a pretty extensive network of
Mm,
just influential people. So one of my first clients that I got was a fitness influencer, and we
mm,
kind of worked out a deal. I said, look, I think she took like 3, 4 months off, so she was kind of like out of shape for her, right?
mm-hmm.
Obviously, she was still in good shape, but like for her, she wasn't in good shape. So
Yeah.
we worked out a deal where I brought her on, for free. I gave her a 12-week program, meal plan, everything, and in turn, she just had to post her progress every single week. And that alone got me a ton of clients just from her following. So I didn't really have a social media presence. I was just leveraging my network to get clients, and it really, really worked.
How big was their following?
She had like 30K all organic. She had competed in the past as well, so it was all like die hard, either fitness influencers or people that are starting their fitness journey and wanted to make a change. Right? They're following her for motivation and all these different things.
Dude, I love that. And there's a concept that I talk about a lot, and something I've noticed as well is, and I call it partnering with power, where, if you're just getting started, one of the fast tracks to success is work with someone that already has, whether it's the influence or it's the infrastructure, you can actually go ahead and work with them and give them a value add. I don't know if you set it up. So your value add to her was you were going to coach her. I don't know if you set up a kickback as well, where every client you got, did you give her a kickback, or was it just simply the free coaching?
Not, yeah, just the free coaching. She was cool with that.
Sure.
And I got a ton of clients just from that. So
Yeah.
that kind of made me realize that like, damn, I can really leverage like a lot of like my network, the things that I have. Like with the cars now, I leverage the cars like crazy. I've met some insane people just by pulling up in a Lamborghini. And I tell everybody this. I tell everybody this on my social media, on TikTok, on Instagram. I get ripped apart for this, but if you pull up to an event in a Toyota Corolla, given how the world works nowadays, nobody's
Yeah.
gonna bat an eye as to who you are. But if you pull up in a Rolls Royce Cullinan, if you pull up in a Lamborghini, everyone's turning their heads and they're all wondering who you are, right?
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where I started leveraging the things that I had access to at a very early age, and that was kind of like my first experience with that. But I provided value to her too, so it was a win-win situation, you know.
Totally. Yeah, no, that's totally. And, the first deal that I did like that, where I partnered with Power, was I did a deal. This was after I worked with Grant Cardone, but I did a deal with a company called Paradigm Sports Management. And basically, we just offered to do service as like, hey, a test run, but by us getting connected with them, they had 100 professional athletes signed, under their management company. And dude, I worked with Conor McGregor when he was, at his peak, where he was going for his second belt, and he was my client. We were running all of his e-commerce, all of his brands. If he needed a pitch deck for Hublot or whatever he was doing, we were doing all that. But it was something where I accidentally kind of use that strategy to tap into someone else's network. And then I realized that it's actually a legitimate business strategy. And now we go after, these partnership deals where we'll actually, integrate our software on the back of whatever they have, or we'll go and work with influencers that have following, but they don't maybe have infrastructure, and they're not going to build a 40-person team. And it's like, look, you got what you got. Let's tackle on what we got on the back end, and everybody wins and makes money. And we'll do kickbacks, right? Different deals for, just kind of depending on who it is. But I love that. And then when you kind of did that online experience, were a lot of your clients from referrals, or did you eventually build your own following where you were getting your own clients just from social media, and posting and whatnot?
Yeah, so I started posting a lot of the clients that I got via referrals. I started posting a lot of their transformations, and I really made sure that they were putting in the work, they're sticking with the meal plan, they're enjoying everything. Because I knew like everything, right? Your first wave of clients, of students are going to be your most important, right? Once you get those testimonials, you're pretty much good to go. But if the first wave of clients or students come through and they say, this program didn't work for me, I didn't see any results, I mean, you're definitely setting yourself up for failure. So a lot of these clients of mine all got really good results. I started posting the transformations. I created a fitness page, and I would share the stories onto my personal page. So a lot of my personal network then started tapping in as well. So then I was getting a lot of clients through my own personal network. I was getting more clients through her network, and it just kind of, I went from like 0 to 10K a month, and I never made 10K a month before, pretty quickly, just with that strategy.
What was your peak when you were, out in Tulum? Were you in Tulum? That's where I was at for a few months. Yeah, I was there for a few months. What year?
It was 2020.
Dude, I might have been there in 2020. I was there for like 3 months in 2020. Yeah.
We were probably at the same spot once or twice for sure. It's pretty small.
Yeah, I did. I didn't get a place on the, the strip, right? I got an Airbnb, a house. So I had,
Nice.
I did that for, it was like 2.5 months. It was a good experience. I was actually considering maybe just, doing a world tour and living in different houses. I ended up doing the opposite, and I ended up, getting another office, and I'm in Vegas right now. But yeah, we were there actually probably around the same time.
For sure.
So what did that
That's
peak
fun.
out at on the online training deal?
I had about, I think I peaked at like 26 clients, and depending on what they wanted, some were paying me 500 all the way up to 1,000 a month.
Wow.
So that was awesome, and it was full one-on-one coaching. Weekly check-ins, access to me 24/7, changing the plan if need be. Giving them all customized everything, all custom to their goals. So I did that, and it was a great experience. I did that for about 6 months, and then I slowly started to taper off. I got really into crypto, and I actually did some stuff in that space.
Yeah. You that was during, I guess, right before the bull run. Were you right before that kind of, push?
It was right during.
During
the bull run.
Yeah.
I started as an investor, and I had some, crazy investments blow up when those small cap coins were going crazy. I never sold, so I never made money, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But it kind of just opened my eyes as to what this world is. And then I actually started a company in that space November 2021 that did quite well actually.
Yeah, I have two buddies from my hometown. Both of them have worked with me, but one of them did do an NFT project, and he did that whole deal. He got metaverse land, and or he got land, and he did the whole deal. But point being is, he actually he sold out his NFT collection. He did like 1.7 million, and the guys that helped him with the project hacked in and actually stole all of the crypto. So he went from literally, this is what happened. So he had 1.5, million in, ETH or whatever. And, then he went out to the club to celebrate because that was the launch. He woke up the next morning. He's like, bro, he was considering suicide. And I'm like, dude, you need to double down and you need to run it back again. And point being though, he was literally a millionaire for 24 hours, went back down to having, 10, 15 grand in his bank account. And he did go and actually relaunch, and he did, the next variation of it. And 60 days later, he ended up with 2.2 million when it was all said and done. So he did make it back. Again, he did have to leverage a connection. He leveraged a connection with the buddy that gave him, $250K to like promote the, the next variation. But that was one buddy. The other buddy of mine, which is actually his cousin, which I don't know, dude, these guys just have bad luck, I guess. But his cousin made 2.2 million just from, investing in Ethereum and just investing in all the right things. And he was at a mall and also got hacked. And dude, he lost a little over like 1.7 million, like being at the mall. But point being is he's made it back. So you had the crypto kind of bull run thing. You had your own project, and then after that, was there anything else in between you actually starting the exotic car rental company, or?
No, so that's kind of what got me down to Miami. So I did an NFT collection called Meta Mansions. It was probably one of the larger projects at the time. Sorry, just playing one over me. It was probably one of the larger projects at the time. And we had a lot of investors, like big time investors. Project's still around. I got bought out a couple months after. I just wasn't getting along with the founders that much. My vision and their vision was kind of off. But we did about 10.4 million in revenue in 5 hours. So we did that. Yeah, it was like an 8-month community building thing. We launched a token as well. Token went up to $300 million market cap from 2 million. It was a crazy wave. It was a crazy ride. That was my first actual taste of success, I'd say. Like, that's what I consider, my first taste of success. We went from like nothing to 10.4 million, in revenue and within 6 months. So
that's insane. Yeah. So then after that, you made it out to Miami, and that's when you actually started the car rental company. And then one sec, Jayden, could you maybe just shift your camera down just a tad? Yeah, right there. Boom.
Right there?
Yeah, right there. So you had the crypto deal. You built a community, built a strong brand, did a little over 10 million. And then it's like, okay, cool. What's the next wave? Did you know that you were going to get into exotic car rentals, or was it just, hey, I have a car, let's just see what happens? And
that was pretty much it. Yeah, that was pretty much it. We did 10.4 million on that NFT project, but we didn't obviously take home nearly anywhere close to that. So I didn't even have that much liquid capital to go and start an exotic car rental company with 5 Lamborghinis or whatever, right? So I came to Miami and I just had that one car, and I knew, it was a hot market down here. I knew a lot of people. I had a couple buddies in the space already that I had met just from visiting, and they were crushing it, renting out Urises and Huracans and stuff. So I've always loved cars my whole life. I've been a huge car guy. My dad's a big car guy, so I also grew up around that. And I just love cars and knew the opportunity was here.
Love that. Yeah, it's definitely something where that also helps with the personal brand and whatnot. My brother just picked up a Huracan, my little brother, and my old business partner has a Urus, and he also has an STO, and they don't rent it out or anything. They just have the cars, which they probably should rent them out. So what's that look like? So someone has a car, ideally you're probably in a major city, maybe you don't have to be. You had the car payment paid for, you were making some profit on it, or you would just rent it out just enough to pay for the payment and then you would drive it, the other days? Or what did that kind of look like when you were first getting started?
It really depends. Like when we first started the company, we were getting cars ourselves, obviously to build proof of concept, to show people that we knew what we were doing. That took time. That took 6, 7, 8 months, right? We were buying cars ourselves, and then I just started getting a ton of investor interest, and it just never slowed down. It just kind of, I have an STO in the fleet, $420,000 car. I've got a Ferrari FA in the fleet. That's another $400,000 car. These cars get rented like every other day too.
Wow.
And it depends on the investor, right? Some investors just want to break even on their monthly payment and they're happy, and they want to enjoy the car for the rest of the month or whatever. That's cool. And I got investors that just toss me a car and they're just like, I'm never touching this car. Just get it rented and make me money, So it really depends on the investor. But yeah.
So let's just talk, maybe best case scenario, and then we'll look at like, worst case. So best case scenario, someone has their dream car. Maybe they're in Miami, maybe they're in LA, and, maybe they're not driving it daily. They're sitting there. What's best case scenario on, some of those cars that are getting rented out every other day? Like what's the net, and how does it actually work? Because I don't actually know a lot about the behind the scenes of that space particularly.
For sure. So, I mean, one of the most popular cars down here is probably a Lamborghini Urus. And my Uruses consistently make anywhere from like $10,000 to $12,000 in revenue. Then obviously I have a 50-50 split. Our expenses are extremely low. Obviously the investor has majority of the expenses, which includes the monthly payment, the insurance. So all in, they're probably paying like $4K a month, and they're making like $2K on top of that, which they're super happy about. And that's only with like 12 to 15 days rented.
So with that, let's just say we fast forward, a year or two, and it's making like 2K a month, the payment's paid for. Does the math kind of even out where eventually the money made and depreciation, the car value is going down? Like what's that look like, over a 2 or 3 year period?
Sure. So you have to remember, right? Every time you make a monthly payment in these vehicles, that's money into the equity of the car. So let's just say a Lamborghini Urus pays for itself every single month, and you're not making anything on top. Let's call it 4K for easy math, right? Over a year, that's just short of $50,000. Well, you just got a free $50,000 that was added into the equity of the vehicle, right? To continue paying for it. And you maybe put, anywhere from like 5 to 7K miles. The car's not going to depreciate $50,000 with 5 to 7K miles, right? A Lamborghini Urus might depreciate 10K, maybe 12K. So the money that you're making on these cars is always going to offset the depreciation every single time by a landslide too. Yeah.
Got it. So the game that you've kind of unlocked is, obviously you're making a profit from these, but at this point you have it down where theoretically any car you get, it's going to make you money and you can drive it, enjoy it, and also turn a profit in the process. Is that pretty much right? Exactly.
Obviously we don't guarantee anything, right? But 90% of the time these cars are just paying for themselves and making really good money too.
Well, and also like you said, maybe the investor, wants to actually, put up money to try to, maximize their investment, right? But sometimes you'll just meet someone, the guy has, a Urus, he has another, car that's sitting there and it's not doing anything. So it's like, let's put it to use. And I have another buddy that does do car rentals. He does them in New York. And the other thing too is like, people worry about the insurance and, if something happens to the car, right? Which that's all covered. And if you have the right mechanic, sometimes there's even money on the back end. I don't know what that looks like, but what's that look like with the insurance? And, actually if something happens, because when people are renting a car, it's not their car, right? Especially if you have like a rapper that's, maybe drinking and driving. I don't know. Have you had an experience like that where, the car gets, totaled or, any experience like that?
Luckily, no. I've never dealt with like a big accident before. Knock on wood. But with insurance though, the client just needs to have rental coverage on their policy. So if they have full comprehensive and collision insurance and they have rental coverage, they're always going to be covered on that vehicle. I've only had to open like small claims, nothing crazy, like 3-4K out of pocket, little minor fender benders, stuff like that. Yeah. And I've always been covered every single time. So obviously the insurance is the most important part of this business. A lot of people, I would say there's companies being started in Miami all the time. Every single year there's a ton of companies being created and started, and the insurance side of things really wipes them out because it's a very hard thing to master, and it's a hard thing to know how, like, what kind of questions to ask, how to ask the right questions, how to navigate through the agent giving you different answers that you didn't expect. So there's a lot that goes into the insurance side that people kind of underestimate.
Gotcha. What's the hardest part about your job right now? Managing 30, 35, a fleet of 30, 35 cars.
Just the management alone. I have everything pretty much automated. I have a full team that handles my like on-ground operations. My role as the founder of the company is kind of just to grow the brand, keep getting cars for the fleet, stuff like that. I'm actually working on offloading a lot of my cars. I'm trying to like really establish myself as like an ultra high-end exotic car rental company. Like I'm trying to really take over that niche, just have like crazy 10 to 12 just crazy cars, because
Mm.
that's kind of my clientele nowadays too. I don't really rent the lower end cars that much anymore,
Mm.
whereas when I started with the M2, the M5, the Corvette, the Escalade, those cars were flying for me. Nowadays I only rent Huracans, Urises, Cullinans, Ferrari, that's
Mm.
kind of my clientele nowadays. So I'm really looking to offload, 15, 20 cars and just kind of have that, niche of a company.
Mm.
But yeah, I would say the hardest part about my job nowadays is just honestly dealing with 35 cars is a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's a ton of work. It's a ton of
So,
work.
so when you said a word right there, you said automated, and for me, I've
Yeah,
been, and do people love the word automation?
for
For
sure.
me, like in business, one thing I've learned is like you automate through organization and having like a team structure, an org
Hmm.
board, whatever you want to call it. So, what's that look like for you right now? You have an operator that's running the deal, and you have a scheduler, or what's your organization look like right now, team wise?
So I kind of have like an exec assistant that kind of schedules everything, cars
Mm.
coming back, cars going out, just on top of every little thing like that. And then I have my guy who does my insurance verification. So he's been doing them for 7, 8 years. Very, very good at what he does. And then I have a dispatch team that handles my pickups and drop offs.
Mm.
Um, the assistant that works for the company, she also handles all of our bookings.
Yeah.
So when we get requests in from brokers, from clients, she'll handle all of that. She'll forward the ID, the insurance policy over to my insurance verification guy.
Nice.
But yeah, all of that's pretty much automated. He also sends
So
out the contracts, everything like that.
So it's pretty lean team, and you got the core people that handle the nitty gritty stuff, drop off, pick up, and scheduling, and pretty
Exactly.
lean though. So what's that look
Yeah.
like, man? So you went from 2 cars to 35 in under a year, a brand new business, 0K to you guys are doing over 100,000 a month right now, pretty consistently, right?
Pretty
Um,
consistently, yeah.
so with that, did you have that intention from the get go, or did you're like, man, I found a little gold mine here, and you just doubled down on it?
You know what? For me, I've always had a passion for cars. So for me to wake up every day and put 12 hours a day into this business, it didn't feel like work. It was something I
Mm.
thoroughly enjoyed. When I was getting all these new cars, I was getting super excited. And when I was getting more clients, I was getting super excited. Like there's almost like
Mm.
an adrenaline rush when it comes to like closing deals because it's such fast money, right? Like an SEO could go out for 4 days and that's 6K right there.
Yeah.
It's like it's such fast money because these deals close so fast too. And I got
Hmm.
addicted to that. I really did get addicted to that. And I also kind of have like a pretty competitive personality where if I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna give it my all. I'm gonna make sure I'm successful, and I'm gonna make sure that I'm one of the best at it. And that's just kind of how I've always lived my life. Um, like I said, with the having the passion for cars and that kind of fire in me, it was just kind of a thing that happened naturally, and I
Mm.
really do think that sales experience that I got. I'm a pretty personable person. I've worked with investors, clients for years from being a personal trainer. But I lost my train of thought too. But yeah, I
Uh,
kind of just had that experience of like, um, yeah, just I've
Working
always
with
wanted to be the best at
investors
what I
and
do. Exactly, working with
yeah.
investors, clients. So I've always had a pretty influential network too,
Mm.
and
So
started, yeah,
how
in
long were you
sports.
putting? Dude, I love that. And one thing you said too is like now it's you got a team, right? It's pretty automated, right? How long were you putting the 12-hour days for? The
A long time. And that's
okay.
another thing too, right? I was really reinvesting every dollar I was making into back into the company for like 6, 7 months. I was taking exactly enough to live and pay my rent and survive. And I was putting every other dollar back into the company. I was working 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, dealing with headaches every single day, dealing with problems every single day, growing this company. And that alone, really made me realize that like 95% of people out there, they don't have an entrepreneurial mindset. Everybody wants to be an
Mm.
entrepreneur. Everybody loves the idea of time freedom, financial freedom, being their own boss until you're an entrepreneur. And
Yeah.
then you're like, okay, this is, 95% of people are like, this is not for me. I'd rather go get a 9 to 5. I know exactly what I need to do. I'm making exactly, X amount every year. People love
Yeah.
that. That kind of like routine is amazing for a lot of people. But for guys like you and me that are entrepreneurs, it was 6 months of just like wake up, work all the way until 1 a.m., sleep, wake up, work, and repeat, and just hope that this thing is going to be successful.
Yeah, and one thing one of my buddies says is, everybody is an entrepreneur until the invoice comes.
Yep, that too.
Yeah, yeah, and
That
I
too.
connect with that. But yeah, dude, a lot of people don't really know what it takes to be an entrepreneur. And you could maybe see the lifestyle on Instagram, you could see the nice cars, but at the end of the day, when things, when the invoice does come, who's responsible for if something happens, it's on our shoulders to, see that through. And I think that, for me, dude, I the short time I did work a job, which was with Grant Cardone, which was really not a job. It was like, I was working 70 hours a week. I just was running my own business and his business, just because of the demand and the standard for production. Dude, I just couldn't do it any other way. Like, I really am obsessed about, maybe it's not even so much working, but maybe learning and kind of figuring out what the next thing is. If not, I would just be bored out of my mind, chained to a desk doing the same thing every day. I don't know how people do it, but for the ones that do it and they enjoy it, dude, you might actually like that lifestyle, better than being the entrepreneur, or you might even be a better fit to be an intrapreneur. Like, find a guy like Jayden Bloom and be like, dude, look, this is what you're doing now. This is another avenue that I think there's money in, and it's a revenue opportunity. Let's do something together, and you can work, maybe you're not Batman, you're Robin, and you're, working with an entrepreneur. And I feel like that's a good role for a lot more people. And there's no downside to doing that either. You get a lot of the upside potential without the, I guess the overhead and the actual responsibility of like who's responsible for the $400,000 STO, so
For sure.
Yeah. What, you said one thing, you said you were competitive. Growing up, were you an athlete?
I was. So my whole life I played a bunch of different sports. My main sport actually was rugby. I played a lot of rugby growing up.
Yeah.
I went to an all boys school in high school. That was a really good rugby school. So I played rugby for like 4 or 5 years. Played at the provincial level, the national level, when I was younger. So I've always kind of been super, super competitive when it comes to all of that. And I think that just naturally, I just carried that over into business, and I carried that over into my life, because once, obviously, being an athlete in school, it doesn't, there's an expiry date. Unless you want to be a pro athlete, you're gonna stop playing sports after high school, after college. So I naturally just carried that over into the gym, to business, all these different things.
Yeah, totally. I was an athlete too. So I was actually an athlete. Dude, I was really an athlete. So I was the number 2 recruit in the nation coming out of high school, and I went to an Ivy League school for wrestling. That's what I did. Yeah. And dude, I got into an accident where I was put in crutches for 11 months. I had hamstring surgery. I came back. I tore it 2 more times, and then basically I was like, all right, what now? So I decided, I want to do business, man. I picked up Think and Grow Rich like a lot of people do, and I decided I want to master the right skill sets. And that's the thing, is like, for me, the skill sets that I learned were sales, and then it was marketing, and then it was operations. And it's kind of cool to see you kind of took that same path where you mastered sales, and you did sales at Equinox. You did some online marketing with your online training business, and now you have a team, and you've set up an organization for yourself where you have a business that's it's making money while you're there or not. So I see that as a trend with a lot of successful entrepreneurs, is they do have a background as athletes, maybe not athletes, but they were disciplined and skilled at something before they were an entrepreneur. They have like almost like this obsessive personality in a sense, where it's like, dude, they want to win,
For sure, because I feel like as an entrepreneur, if you're gonna live the entrepreneurial life, which at times is not a very fun life, you might as well try and be the best at what you do, right? Otherwise, there's no point. Otherwise, you can just go get a 9 to 5 like everybody else and be average. I hate to say it, but that's really the only life options you have. So for guys like us who are entrepreneurs, I just feel like, you got to have that fire in you, because when problems arise, when things go wrong, you have nobody to turn to but yourself, and you have to figure them out. Whereas when you work a 9 to 5, or you're, any corporate job or whatever, you have a whole team that you can ask questions to. You have a boss who's telling you what to do. Like, you have direction. Whereas an entrepreneur, a lot of the times, you have no direction. You're waking up and you're basically saying, okay, what needs to be done today? Or you create goals for yourself, and you kind of sit down and you're like, okay, how am I going to achieve these goals? How am I going to accomplish my short-term goals, my long-term goals? And you really have nobody to turn to. That's why, talking about me hiring a mentor, that really helped me, because that was somebody that was in the business. He saw that I had that drive. He saw that I was went from 2 cars to 5 cars on my own, and that's all I needed was direction, because I already knew that I had that drive, that fire, and when he gave me that direction, it kind of just exactly changed everything for me. Probably the best $15,000 I ever spent in my entire life.
Which for you, man, you kind of took it and ran with it. What do you think was let me ask this question actually. So if you were to give yourself advice, from day one and be like, hey, I would highly recommend doing this sooner or not doing this because maybe it was a headache for you, what piece of advice would you give, yourself on day one if you could rewind the clock and, whisper in your ear, building this?
Yeah, I would get a mentor a lot sooner. Instead of waiting 6 months to just have one fall on my lap, I would go and pursue one because, like I said, that really changed the game for me in a matter of a few weeks, where I would have never figured that the game out without that, And maybe I would have down the road, but it would have taken me months and months of trying different things, of failing, of this and that. So, yeah, I really feel like the right mentor is so crucial and beneficial.
Totally. With the right mentor that has the right information, ideally they've put in a decade, doing what you want to do. And,
Yes.
they can give you those few pieces of key information that help you make a quantum leap. There's only been one billionaire that I've ever met in my life. I remember when I met him, dude, I'm like, dude, this is a billionaire, that's different than a million, which there wasn't millionaires, if I walked around my block, I could walk around the block 100 fucking times. There wasn't millionaires in the neighborhood I grew up in. But point being is he went from making $50,000 a year at the age of 55 to being worth 3.2 billion by the age of 62, wow, which is a quantum leap. And one thing he said was one of our greatest abilities as human beings is our ability to learn. And, I took that seriously. So and it sounds like for you took it seriously and you happened to come across the right mentor and it allowed you to have that quantum leap. Because a lot of business owners out there, dude, I'm telling you, so we do sell, we do have, so under the brand ROAS, we do sell to business owners. And some of these guys have been in business for a decade and they're still on the brink of poverty, just slamming their head against the wall, and they don't want to take I don't know if they want to change, but I don't know. It's like they want to keep doing it their way versus looking at the situation being like, there's something I'm doing wrong. Maybe I should get some help, So with that, dude, now you're helping people, right? You have a program. Let's kind of shift gears and talk about, your program and how you help people, start their, is it exotic car rentals or is it any type of rentals? How do you actually help people now inside your academy, or what do you call it exactly?
So I launched something called Exotic Fleet Formula. It's more of a mentorship. I specialize in exotics. That kind of, that's been my niche, my bread and butter.
Yep.
But if renting economy cars, it's pretty much the same thing. And I was getting a lot of questions, once I started really growing, once Mercy was really, really growing too. I was getting a lot of questions, a lot of DMs. Hey bro, I got 2 cars, how can I monetize them? Hey bro, how does the insurance work? Hey bro, how does this work? How does that work?
Mm-hmm.
And the fleet got to a point where I didn't want to get any more cars for the fleet because I felt like I had too many. I was getting very consistent clientele. The same clients are coming back. I was getting new clients every other day. Like I said, my business was pretty much automated. I said, okay, I have the time, I have the bandwidth, I have the experience, the knowledge. I know I can provide a lot of value to these guys. So about 3 weeks ago, we launched Exotic Fleet Formula.
Okay.
Which is it's like a one-on-one coaching program, teaching people how to get into the exotic car rental game, how to build their own exotic car rental fleet. And a lot of these guys, they just want 2 or 3 cars that are making them 5, 6, 7K a month. And then there's guys that want a fleet like myself. So the beautiful part is these cars can be automated, and even with 2 cars, you can make an easy 5K a month. Which is life-changing for a lot of people.
And those, so first thought that comes to my mind, you guys, is anybody that was doing an industry and they're crushing it, and when they first launch their mentorships, that's a good time to get with them because the prices always go up.
100%. 100%.
Yeah. So what's that program cost right now?
So it's $4,800, which is lifetime.
Dude, which is dude, I'm telling you guys, the price is going up, dude. It's not going to be that neat.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, for sure. We have about 8 students right now. Once they kind of get their first cars, they're making money, they get their second car, etc. I feel like once the testimonials come out that this is a legit program and people are actually making legit money, the prices are definitely going to go up. I'm going to move into the light over here.
Yeah, you're good. It's good to see that Miami view. Miami views.
Oh yeah, it's beautiful over here. Beautiful. I'm on the rooftop of my building. But yeah, no, it's. I think the value is insane, right? Kind of like what I touched on. I paid $15K to hire for a mentor.
Yeah.
And we're providing in my opinion, 10x the value that he provided to us, and it really changed the game.
It's the same information and data that you paid 15 grand for $5 grand. You know, that's right.
Exactly.
So with that, because when I think about exotics, I think about you got to be in, LA, you got to be in Miami, you got to be Chicago, New York, you have to be in, a major city, right? Is that pretty much, that's the best way to go about it, right?
Major cities are always going to be best just because of like the people there and the amount of people traveling to those cities, etc. But this can really be done in any city,
Sure.
The only thing that's going to vary are the cars that you acquire. Where Miami, people want to flex. The weather's always nice, so Lamborghinis, Ferraris, convertibles always do really well. Whereas like a city like Boston, for example, great rental car city, but you're going to be more inclined to get like Suburbans, Escalades, cars like that, because you want cars that are going to go out during the winter months as well.
Sure.
So it really just depends on the city.
Yeah, and obviously it's the exotic, your thing is exotics, right? Because when I think about, the coaching program, it's a certain type of individual that's going to be in that mentorship, right? Yes. For people that are in smaller cities or whatnot, is this something where the system would theoretically work with cars that could be on Turo, for the management and the operations, or is that, a possibility, or is it, this is exotics? You know what I mean?
No, it definitely works. We have students that obviously a lot of the times, right, you're not going to start with exotics right away. A lot of these guys, they want to get their own cars, or they're buying $30,000-$40,000 cars. So I feel like everybody kind of starts in that economy level, and then once they build, that's when you kind of hit that exotic tier level. And that's where you really start making, like, can rent a car for $1,000 a day in the right city with the right marketing. It's going to go out 10 to 15 times a month,
Yeah, that's probably what I would do. Like if I was running your program, like I would have like the 5K program be, here's the blueprint to how to get, the scheduling, the insurance, like here's how to do it. You could do it with any type of car, and then to work with you one-on-one, dude, it's 15 bands, it's 25 bands or whatever. But
that's probably what we're going to start doing. Because right now it's all like group coaching. We do 2 group coaching calls a week, and we have a full curriculum that we give every single student. So they go through the curriculum themselves. Took us 5 months to build, and then we have the coaching calls. I have one tonight at 8, and then we do another one on Thursdays at 8. But nice. The one-on-one are going to come in the future for sure. And even this program itself is definitely going to go up in price, because a lot of the guys that are in the program currently are loving it. They're getting a ton of value. They're like this close to getting their first cars. So we know what we're doing works. We're basically giving them the exact same sauce that got us to where we are today. So there's
Makes sense. And for you guys, watching this right now, or if you know Jayden, you're like looking him up on Google, right? Because this will pop up ideally on YouTube, so they're gonna watch this interview. And I'm telling you, like, dude, the price is going up, and you should take advantage of it. Every single person that I've seen, like, because I've been in the space of consulting or coaching, like I fell into it with Grant Cardone. I didn't realize that was what I was doing. I thought I was just working at a consulting company, but he is a guru, whatever you want to call him, right? But I fell into this space, and one thing I've noticed is people that are crushing it in their space, and when they just launch their program, it's like, dude, that's when you're going to get the most one-on-one attention for them. It's usually going to be at a crazy value compared to like what it would be a year or 2 years later. Like this could be to buy your time, Jayden. I don't know if you've ever done the math on it, but like with what you guys are doing revenue wise, dude, your time is probably worth, dude, $1,000 to $2,000 an hour, right?
100%. That's kind of where I value it for sure.
So with that being said, like what's the vision for, Jayden Bloom with, Instagram and, building the personal brand and stuff? I know that, you have, it seems, I don't know how fast you're growing on social media, but is a personal brand a part of your game plan long-term, or is it just, keep running with, the exotic car thing and the course? Like what's your plans in the future?
No, 100%. I'm kind of working on that right now. I'm really trying to grow my personal brand. Just from the cars alone, my personal brand has grown immensely. It's definitely given me a big name down here in Miami in a short amount of time. But now I'm really trying to grow my TikTok following. So I'm posting 3-4 times a day on TikTok. I'm trying to post more like car content, asking like common car questions, just little things like that. So over the next 6 months, I really want to blow up like my TikTok profile, get even a much larger following on Instagram. So that's definitely a goal of mine. Now that's really what I'm focused on, is my personal brand.
Nice. And then, with that being said, the 3 posts a day, are you just, pulling out the phone, you're stepping into the Rolls Royce, and it's like, you have that, right? That's the content.
Yeah. And just talking about different things, and it's starting to go viral. I had video the other day go get like 40,000 views. I had a couple get like 30, 20. So I kind of figured out what's working for me. My following's growing pretty quickly because of that. So
I interviewed a guy yesterday, and he's growing 5,000 followers a day right now on Instagram, and
wow.
he's crushing it. If you looked at him, like I'll send you his profile after this, you'll be like, okay, I get it. But dude, yeah, he's growing 5,000 a day right now, and he's not monetizing anything. He doesn't really have a plan to do that in the near future. He's just making content to make it, and then he does what he does, on the outside of social media. But he's definitely going to have a large personal brand in the next year, and going to be something he can monetize from. With you, do you have a goal in terms of how I guess is the academy, because obviously exotic car rentals, there's a market that you're going to work with, right? It's going to be people that are ballers, they're investors, maybe they're running 7-8 figure companies, and then you kind of have the academy, which sounds like, dude, the average Joe that has some cash and has some credit could get in the game if they wanted to. Is that the plan though? Do you have a target for the academy too, or is there another project or brand you're working on in the back end long term, or
Not really. Yeah, the academy, I obviously want to grow it as much as I can. But a plan after that, I don't really have a plan after that. I'm kind
okay?
of just taking it one day at a time. And even like with Mercy, I don't really have a plan to like expand to all the major cities. Just kind of want to, I'm pretty happy with like how everything's going in Miami, which is arguably the hottest, city in the world for exotic car rentals. So yeah, I don't really have an immediate plan. Gonna take it one day at
Yeah.
a time for sure.
Sounds like a plan. All right, cool. So with that being said, man, let's jump one more subject, which is like on the personal side. As an
Okay.
athlete, I'm sure you had discipline. Right now, you are running a business that does $100,000 a month, right? So what does a day in Mr. Bloom's life look like, right?
hmm
Are you waking up and you have a routine that you do every morning? Are you, do you have certain things that you would say action wise that have attributed to that success? Like, what are some of those personal habits that have helped you get to this point?
For sure. So I usually wake up around the same time. I usually wake up around 7, 8, gym by 9. So the gym's a non-negotiable for me. I go every single morning. So, it definitely keeps me sharp mentally and physically. And then I kind of just start my day with whatever needs to be done. I kind of oversee the operations. I oversee everything, make sure everything's going smoothly. And then usually my day-to-day is just talking to different investors, acquiring different vehicles, talking about different vehicles that we need in the
Mm-hmm.
fleet, and then obviously growing the brand. I handle all the social media marketing.
Mm-hmm.
So I do all the marketing for my business and obviously for my personal. But yeah, that's kind of my day-to-day. It's gym and then work until I go to sleep. So that's kind of,
Okay.
but that's the life. That's my life. I love it. And yeah.
Okay, I love that. And then, with that, is there anything that you have as like a part of your routine that is an anchor? So for example, for me, I do breath work. That's one thing I do. And it helps me, get in present time and kind of puts me in a state, and I'll do it throughout the day. But is there any actions where you're like, dude, this is a part of my day, dude. This is definitely something that's, helped me achieve, the results that you have had so far.
So I have a cold plunge on my balcony, and I use that every single morning. So I do about 3 minutes when I wake up, and that also just like the dopamine rush, the mental clarity, the focus. That with
Mm-hmm.
the gym definitely helps just set my day on the right path. Doing those two things, I'm motivated to eat clean, I'm motivated to work, I'm motivated to just stay healthy, and I think that really, really helped me get to where I am today. Just in terms of like being disciplined and staying on track. Not being lazy, I guess you could say.
Love that. And then, outside of your dad, because I know that it sounds like he was a mentor for you, right? But outside of your dad, um, what if there was a book or audiobook or, someone online where you're like, man, this guy really helped me get the right mindset, or maybe it was a skill. What could you give people, something, behind the scenes that's maybe helped you kind of, have the right perception to, create this life for yourself?
So I'm a very visual learner. I always learn through experience. I have to go through something myself to kind of like learn from it and everything like that. So I've never been a big reader. It's something I do want to get into more, but I don't really have a book that kind of like, changed my
Mm-hmm.
perspective or created everything for myself. I really think my dad was like the main driving force that got me to where I am today. Just being around that lifestyle for so long and just literally watching him from me being in diapers, him growing his own businesses, his own companies, exiting one for a couple M's, like all these different things. I think that alone just like really created my mindset and really gave me the experience necessary to go out and be successful myself.
Yeah.
Um,
That
Yeah.
makes
So that,
sense.
that, that definitely did it for me.
That makes sense. And there's, what I found is there's a few different ways to learn. One is through, picking up a book, and the other one is through what I would call osmosis, which is being in the environment of somebody that is doing it, and you're learning through just by being next to them, right?
Exactly.
And that was probably the biggest thing that helped me is when I first, started working with Grant, is I was in a room with killers, dude, and every single person there, was top tier, and that's how I learned the most. I didn't actually watching Grant's content. It wasn't the thing for me. It was being in that room next to someone that, was closing, $500,000 deals, and just sitting next to him. Right.
Exactly.
Cool. So, with that, Jayden, I don't know if there's anything else that you want to, leave the people with, but, if there was one thing, actually, how about this? If there was one thing you could leave yourself with, and you could, rewind the clock, Jayden, you're 17-year-old Jayden, you're about to, make your way into the world, right? And you had to leave yourself a note, right? And on that note, it was a roadmap. But the roadmap can't be like buy Bitcoin right now. But like, what would you tell yourself? What would you tell yourself?
I would say be around the right people at an earlier age. Leave the friends that don't have the same mindset as you. Leave your friends that just don't want the same things in life. I was hanging around friends that just wanted to party every weekend, that just had no goals, no ambition, happy with, $60,000, $80,000 a year. And it wasn't until I was in my early 20s that I really changed all of that. And that alone just made the world of difference, and I really wish I did that a lot sooner. Obviously, really enjoyed hanging out with them, really enjoyed my time with them. But in terms of where I wanted to go, I just wasn't on the same page with these guys. And moving to Miami, another reason why I think I've been so successful is because I'm just around entrepreneurs 24/7. And all of my buddies down here are making a killing. They're all super successful with what they do. I live in the heart of Brickell at the SLS Lux, which is a pretty, a lot of solid guys live here. So I'm just around killers every single day, similar to you working with Grant Cardone.
Yeah.
And I think if I did that a lot at a much earlier age, I would have been where I'm at a much earlier age.
Love that. And how old are you, by the way, now?
I just turned 27.
Still really young, man. By 30, dude, you're gonna freaking, dude, I don't even know, man. You'll have yeah. So love that, you guys. All right, that's Jayden Bloom. We'll go ahead and wrap up the episode right here. You guys can go ahead and check out Jayden's socials down below, and yeah, we'll go from there.